What's up, YouTube? Malari1 here. How's everybody doing today? I'm doing pretty good. It's Thursday, and I thought I'd do a video about. I'm going to try and focus this video. I know that I'm usually kind of unfocused and just kind of randomly playing, but I want to do a video about substats, about sub skills, about orbs and crests and things like that. So let's kind of go in here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's take this hero for instance. This is a good example of what I want to talk about and how I want to talk about it. Carlotta here. I want to talk about so follow my little sparkles on the screen here. Not these stats. Okay, I want to talk about these stats. Okay, so this stuff down here, and it's kind of for a lot of people, kind of and for me included, an overlooked thing. If we open up orbs have, and crests, by the way. I don't know, maybe I can't do that while that's up. There we go. Orbs and crests both will affect these substats, and you might think, oh, well, no, I need this for. Why is this important? And so I wanted to talk about it. All right, so let's go over what these subsets are and why they're important first. So everybody knows about hit points, attack, defense. Critical rate is how often you're going to crit, and then the critical damage, that's the multiplier of the damage when you do crit. But what is, for instance, skill cooldown reduction? So skill cooldown reduction is the percent chance that your hero every second will reduce, and I shouldn't say the word second, I'm not sure what the term to use is, and I haven't done enough testing on this, but I want to say every pulse I'm going to use the term pulse. Because seconds are fluid in this game, and there's a reason why I'm talking about Carlotta here. But so there's a percent chance every interval of time, let's say, that you'll get a little thing flashing over your hero's head that says cool time reduced, skill cooldown reduced, I think is what it says. This is that percentage chance every so often that's going to happen. So for her, her stat is 11%, but her leader skill gives an additional, for scissors heroes, 10%. So that's 21% for this hero here to get her skill cooldown. And I'll show you why that's important for this particular one here in a second. Status resist, increase the chance of resisting enemy skill effects. If you click on these, it tells you. But it's not always very clear. Status activation chance. Increases the chance of applying skill effects when damaging enemies. So those skill effects are, not to her, I don't know if she has one or not, but I do know that Kerr has one. So when we look at Kerr's skills, it says, so you see here where it says, I'm trying to click on it to show the little, but when I do click on it, it goes away. All right, let's see where it says 28% chance to stun for 3 seconds and cause bleeding for 6 seconds. So that's that percent chance. So 28% can be increased by his status activation chance. So that's plus 6% for him. Okay. Let's go back to I might be flipping around between monsters. Buff duration reduction. So that's going to, I'm sorry, debuff duration reduction. That's going to change the duration. Again, percent chance of any debuffs on your team of being the duration just being reduced. Okay. Okay. Debuff reduction. Why does it say reduction? Debuff duration reduction. Stat that increases the duration of a debuff when an ally uses a debuff skill on an enemy. Okay. So. Okay, so this is not. Alright, so I guess this is not debuffs on you. This is debuffs on the enemy. It increases the duration of debuffs that you use on an enemy. See, this is why we got to read this stuff. Because debuff duration reduction, you would not think would be an increase of the time of a debuff. Buff duration increases the duration of a buff. Okay. Crit damage decrease. This decreases damage on critical hits taken from enemies. Disable duration increase. Stat that increases the duration of a disable when using a disable skill on an enemy. So this is not when your team is disabled. This is when your team disables the enemy with a stun or a knockback or a knockdown or things like that. Okay? Now, one stat in particular is interesting on this particular hero. The skill cooldown reduction. She has, on her first skill, accelerates all allies' skill cooldowns by 200% for 10 seconds. This is not the same as skill cooltime reduction. This is accelerates the cooldowns, and the other one says skill cooldown reduction. So it's reducing instead of accelerating. Why is that important? Well, so when she casts her first skill, what happens is all of the allies' skills, instead of going in intervals of 1 second, 1, 2, whatever, since it's increased by 200%, it goes 200% faster. So 100% would be double, 200% would be, I believe, I'm not sure exactly if they do it times 3 or if it's 100 times 100. So like times 4. But anyway, what happens is the seconds start ticking off very quickly, one at a time, on your cooldowns, versus the other one where just randomly you'll get a multi-second off of your cooldown. Let's run this team and kind of show you. And the reason why I want her skill cooldowns to be cycled through quicker is so that she can then speed up the rest of the team's cooldowns, right? So she's kind of the kicker for the rest of the team. So if I can get her cooldowns faster, then I can get everybody else's cooldowns faster, including her own, because she, of course, does also affect her own self. All right, so let's run this team. So I was having all kinds of problems farming, even just hard mode, on I forget which one it is. I know which one it is when I get to it. Okay, so it's over here. Inua. Okay, so it's against the dragon, right? The ice dragon. Until I started working on Carlotta's runes. So she's getting the benefit of her leader skill. If I go to team info here, by the way, so we get lots of, let me move this out of the way. We get lots of important information. We got the team hit points. So the team attack type, so it's kind of keeping track of rock, paper, and scissors attack type. The team defense, so not only is your team's hit points additive, but your team's defense is also additive. Okay, so we're looking, your team's defense is averaged. The team's hit points are added. The team's defense is averaged. Does it make sense yet? And then your team resistance, I believe, is added. So where's resist 2%, resist 2%, and then is this guy resist 1%. Yeah, so resistance is additive. All right, so here, sum of status. Oh, you can click on these. This is awesome. I learned something new. I never knew you could click on this stuff. The sum of defenses of all participating heroes. You will take less damage in battle by having a high team. Well, this is not the sum of it because we just showed that my defense over here is 633. Defense here is 628. Defense here is 672. This looks like it's average to me, not added. Unless this... So either this is wrong where it says it's the sum, or this number is wrong where it's showing the average, not the sum. And then obviously the team hit points. So whether it's averaged or added, I don't think it really matters. It's still your team has a defense and your team has a hit points, and then it's affected by each individual team member's stats. Okay. But I digress again. Let's go into here and kind of show how this works. Now, the hero that we want to look at is Carlotta. You can tell her by her bright white hat. It won't be too difficult to follow along with her. And I want you to look at the status over her head for skill cooldown reduction. And I want you to look at the cooldown times of other members of the team. Okay, so she's going to use her skill. So now she's at 42 seconds. Now let's look over here. Now look how fast that is going down. So she doesn't affect herself, but wait for it. She's right here, by the way. Wait till you see the buff go over her head. Just waiting. Just waiting. Come on, girl. You can do it. You can. Let's do a little heal. Just right here. Keep following along. I'm just using skills so that we can see. Cooldown reduced. Did you see that? And then a whole bunch of her skill got refreshed. Of course, it happened right before she went into the next stage, so we didn't really get to see. Let's do this. Let's use her skill. I'm just using skills to use them. So we can... I don't know where he went. Okay, waiting for her to get a... Where'd she go? She's back here. I might lose this because I'm seriously trying to show a thing and not actually win the level. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Thank you, IMDb. Okay, cooldown reduced. Did you see her skill went way down? Now, I don't have any skills auto skills turned on, and I'm not using skills. All right, so here we go. So that skill's going very quickly. We didn't get it really. I'm gonna hit auto on this, and because it's a lot easier to show on auto. Let's replay this again. But so I wanted to have, I wanted to kind of show how important the cooldown time of your skills is and how it can affect how often your teams are using their skills. Why is Carlotta important? How she makes, because how many times have you been in a fight, either in PvP or PvE, where you're like, everything's on cooldown, I got nothing, I can do nothing right now, I'm screwed, right? And I either have to run away or I have to do something else. But one way or the other, I'm screwed. I'm going to hit auto. That happens all the time. Okay, so now this skill is going very quickly. We're watching over her head. 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22. And she's, of course, not going to proc it now. 20, 19, 18, 17, 13, 14. Come on, girl. She's not, of course. Of course, she's not proccing it now. I'm really trying very, very hard to... Okay, cooldown reduced, of course, again, while she's not fighting. I'd like for it to happen while she's fighting so that we can see how this works. All right, 40, 37, come on, girl. 35, 34, 32, 31, 30, 29, proc it. She's not procking. And of course I killed him. Good grief. Of course, we all know that your car, when it makes a funny noise, you take it to the mechanic. It never makes that funny noise for the mechanic. One more time. Can we please get this to work? Pretty please. Do. This was working for me left and right when I was testing it before the video, and of course now it won't proc. I was getting it like 2 or 3 times here and there. Come on. All right. 39, 38, 37. Come on, girl. Of course. Come on. There it went from 17 to like 9. Did you see that? You might want to rewind it if you didn't catch it. It's hard to catch, but you got to be like really watching to notice it. Part of me wants to turn off strike animations because this is, it takes up a lot of time. There's cooldown reduced. Did you see? It's hard to be watching both her and the actual timer on the cooldown. But anyway, you can get this set up to where, you're improving cooldowns of your healer and stuff like that. Whoa, I just won that one by the seat of my pants. So you're increasing the timer on or accelerating the cooldowns of your healer, so you got your heal more often, or your nuker, so that your nuke is getting done more often. And then so I'm trying to not to accelerate, but to reduce her cooldowns, so that I can have that skill up more often. So yeah. Anyway. But other than that, the other big, and I kind of alluded to this, is the activation rate increase. So a lot of these monsters, especially like her, he's the big one for this particular stat, and I haven't set his orbs to take advantage of this yet. It's a thing that I really need to do, but he's got a lot of like chance to stun, chance to cause bleeding, 35 chance to stun, stuff like that. So you want to get that. You can't affect it. This isn't like Summoner's War where it's a 35% chance to do something, and then accuracy comes in to land it once it procs on that 35% chance. No, this is increasing that 35% chance. If you have a 6% increase to this stat, then it's not 35%, it's 41% chance to do it. So it's definitely a stat you want to look into for your heroes that have a percent chance to activate a skill. So it's called status activation chance right here. That's the thing that you want to look at for especially for damage dealers and things like that. Obviously, for any any hero that casts shields on your team, you want to look at buff duration increase. You want to increase the duration of those shields. You want to make them be as long as possible. These are individual stats per hero. They're not grouped together for your team. The only things, again, that are grouped together are hit points, defense, attack is kind of, sort of grouped together, mostly for like rock, paper, scissors benefit. Each individual skill is still going to do a particular amount of damage, but I think for calculating the total attack of your team and for calculating regular damage, not skill damage, but your normal damage, then that is kind of calculated in, and then your status resist. I don't know if that's why this is a slightly larger, but status resist is a team combined stat. So if you've got one hero that's got a whole bunch of resistance, then that's going to help the entire team, not just that hero. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but if you've got one, it seems to be, if you've got one hero in the line that gets frozen and the other heroes are outside of the line, then your whole team still gets frozen. It's all or nothing. The only way that you would be able to do anything while you're frozen is you can still use your striker if your striker is available, things like that. That's why strikers that have a cleanse are pretty valuable as well, because you can use that striker to cleanse all your debuffs and then get your team back going again. That's another tip, by the way. Okay, so yeah, just a little supposed to be really short, but ended up being 22-minute video on some of these lesser known, lesser cared about substats. You can increase these not just through substats on orbs, but that's what these crests are for. That's why crests are really good. If you look at the set bonuses, grit is skill cooldown reduction. How about that? So you would want, certainly you would want grit on Carlotta or any other, or like a healer, right? Status resistance, that's going to help your whole team. Status activation, you want precision on Kerr or any other hero that's going to do that. Debuff duration, again, as we know, this is not debuffs on your team. This is debuffs that you place on the enemy. And then buff duration, that are buffs to your team. All right, easy as mud, right? Okay, that's I think that's my video on substats, on orbs and on crests. Thanks everybody for watching. If you got any questions, if you got any further advice on on how these things synergize with your various teams, I kind of showed one synergy as far as Carlotta's skill cooldown, helping her to use her skill that increases everybody else's skill cooldown. Then stacking it as much as possible on one unit to affect the whole team. That's one way to help things like that. Her leader skill, I think the Nerid, the blue dragon has that as well. I'm not really sure why this dude is not higher rated, because he's got attack speed He increases your buff durations. He has a silence effect. And his leader skill is it decreases cooldowns by 7%. That seems pretty good. I'm not sure why he's not better. Why he's not rated higher. Maybe it's just because there are other units that do what he does as well. But it seems like you could combine them. I'm not sure. But, you know, whatever. I already started the outro and I got distracted again. Thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it very much. I hope you found this informative. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm still looking for a big push of subscribers so that my channel does not get demonetized when YouTube's changes take effect later this month. So please subscribe if you are so inclined, and like the video if you liked it, and drop any feedback in the comments. I appreciate it all. I'll talk to everybody later. Have a great day. Bye.